The Home Track Housing Survey out Sunday showed UK house prices fell for a second month as demand declined amid a fragile market. I'm joined down the line by David Orr, Chief Executive of the National Housing Federation. Mr. Orr, can you give us a brief overview of what exactly is happening within the UK housing market at this time?
Okay, I think it would be fair to say that the UK housing market is under really extreme pressure. We're seeing significant reductions in the level of owner occupation. House prices have stayed very high through the recession, really because of lack of supply. There's still a lot of demand, but mortgage finance is difficult to come by. And to give you an example, 10 years ago, the average deposit for a new home was the equivalent of 9 months of an average salary. Now it's the equivalent of 3 years of an average salary. So it's putting owner occupation out of the reach of many people who previously would have expected to be first-time buyers.
Prices are rising for the private renting sector. What are the reasons behind this?
Social housing is under pressure. There's not enough of it, and it's another market that's contracting. There's considerable pressure as a result of that on market rent, private rented sector, where prices are going up. And our private rented sector is characterised by small-scale buy-to-let providers rather than large institutional providers. So, and we're not building nearly enough new homes. 98,000 new starts last year, and we need a minimum of 250,000 just to deal with population growth and demographic change. So there are some very severe issues that need to be resolved and certainly addressed very quickly.
A report was published last week which says that social housing in expensive areas should be sold off and tenants move to cheaper areas. In your opinion, will this scheme work to improve housing prospects?
Yes, a think tank called the Policy Exchange has proposed that any social housing which is deemed to be expensive, i.e. of a value above a set level, a kind of median level, in any of the English regions, should be sold on the open market as and when it becomes available. They're not proposing that people should be moved out, but as and when properties become available, they should be sold on the open market. Now, what that would do, according to the Policy Exchange, is generate significant capital that we would then be able to use to provide a kind of cross-subsidy, thereby building more social rented homes. And to be honest, the core idea here is a perfectly rational one. It is very important that we're able to use the assets that we've got as cost-effectively as we can. And certainly housing associations and some local authorities are already doing that. They, have a property in a high-value area, it's empty, they can sell it, generate the income, and use that to support the building of 2 or 3 homes instead. So it's basically a sound idea. The problem with the proposal that the Policy Exchange made was the kind of determinism of it, that every property above a certain level should always be sold. And I think that would be really, really destructive. I think that it would create areas of our major cities that are only for wealthy people and other areas that are only for poor people. And I don't think that's a good outcome. But it also means that in some of our rural villages and market towns, there would be no social housing left at all. And that's not sustainable either. So this is a case, I think, of taking what is basically a sound idea and then turning it into an economic model, a theoretical construct, and trying to impose it across the board, and that part of it won't work.
And lastly, in your opinion, what could be done to better the housing market?
Well, I think there's a lot that we could do to improve the supply. I mean, first of all, actually I think that we need to have a kind of national campaign for new homes. We're just not building enough new homes. And in many parts of the country, there's been a kind of view arisen that all new development is bad. We have to kind of break that idea. If we can get through that, then there are some very practical things that could be done. There's lots of land, previously developed land, owned by public authorities, local councils, the government, different government departments. If we could find a way of releasing that land quickly and where it's free at the point of use, perhaps on an equity share base or a leasehold basis or something of that kind, and get planning consents on that, that would make a huge difference to our ability to get building very quickly. We need to build new homes for rent, both for market rent and for affordable rent, as well as building new homes for open market sale. And I think there are other things that government could do to support this. You will be aware of the fact that the UK government has been using guarantees to stimulate the economy for major infrastructure provision. Well, I think it's at least possible that they could do that to support bond finance for housing associations. That would make the cost of money cheaper. It would make it easier and more cost-effective to build the homes. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and indeed, some of the judicious sales of vacant property all contribute, but we really need to get cracking on it, because otherwise what is already a huge problem is in danger of becoming a proper crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Orr, for those interesting insights into the UK housing sector. Coming up on Dukas Copy TV, we have a Targets in Focus interview with my colleague Durham McDermott, so stay tuned.